and welcome to World War Wrestling. Glad to have you back. We're going to do this rapid fire because Monday Night Raw starts in about 20 or 19 minutes, and I do not want to miss out and be late for that because I'm trying to get back on schedule. Give me a second. All right. So, new format for mental sanity reasons to be able to do this for the long term, not the short term. We're going to do NXT and Ring of Honor. Let's go. For the industry side, we actually have NXT. For the, I don't know, the side of liberty and creative freedom with your gimmick and your character and then ring, we have Ring of Honor. Gacy and Dijak, Ethan Page. Who gets the point? Um, I would say that Dominic, I don't remember like his remembering. Was it Dominic Dijakovic or something like that? I want to say Dijak, whatever. He's really evolved as a character from his first release until now. Even though he has very skinny legs, he looks like a legitimate, incredible threat whenever he's in there. Kind of like Baron Corbin, no matter what, he always looks like a legitimate threat. Gacy looks like he was like a male cheerleader or something who just like went through some kind of alcoholic depression. Maybe he got out of it, maybe he didn't, I don't know. And he just really can't seem to find his way. It's like you can't force yourself to be a leader if you're not a leader. You know, he has like this cult leader gimmick that he really needs to drop because he is a pretty good in ring talent, but he's just some weird fat Kevin Owens guy. Ethan Page has to be one of the biggest disappointments in professional wrestling. And I do not say that lightly. I say that because Ethan Page was a part of the greatest tag team we had seen. They're no longer existent, so it don't matter. But the North was incredible. The North together was incredible. And there's just an alternate universe where Ethan Page stayed in TNA, kept developing himself as a talent. He had been there longer than Josh. And I think people confuse longevity and what's it called? Tenure, I guess you would say. How long you're with the company, seniority, I mean. Seniority with capability and with talent. And I feel like Ethan Page is very talented. I feel like he is very capable. But he's just, for you to be successful in this industry, from what I see, you have to be thinking about everyone around you. You have to be thinking about the ref. You have to be thinking about the fans. When you're just all ego and just head up your own ass, you can't really get over or be successful in a match because you're just thinking about you and you're not thinking about everybody. There's a story about how John Cena would come in and ask how many ticket sales there are for the night. Just so he would know, so he could prepare, and he knew what the stakes were. He knew what he was getting himself into. So I'm actually am going to give the point over to Gacy and Dijak, if for no other reason, just because there's more guys over there. You know, Ethan Page was never a singles wrestler. He wasn't successful as a singles wrestler in TNA. So him leaving, AEW, when I'm pretty sure they wanted either both Josh Alexander or just Josh, they got Ethan, maybe hoping that Josh would cut him over, but they just, I don't know if it's like underutilizing Ethan Page or if just like some guys, Ethan just can't get out of his own way. And it seems like that's more so what it is. The all ego gimmick needed to have died in TNA. It should have died in TNA and been rebranded after he was in the North, but he won't let it go. And that's like really the biggest issue with egoism is that no one can tell you anything. So Ethan Page has lost, the side of liberation at that point because he's free to the point where he can make his own bad decisions. Um, Lyra Valkyria and Roxanne Perez, I believe, versus Billy Starks. It's not that I don't like Billy Starks. It's just that I see, especially since I see her specifically on Ring of Honor, Roxanne Perez, Roxy, was the actual Ring of Honor Women's Champion before the company was sold off and she got sent over to WWE, where she's been a stellar talent on NXT ever since. I don't know where Billy Starks comes from other than maybe Athena's training dojo, something. And I don't really like how Billy has gone from. I guess she really hasn't. She hasn't really gotten into like the Athena gimmick too much, because Nyla Rose came in and destroyed that before Billy Starks can really like have a transformation the way that Julia Hart did to Sky Blue. Um, just my perspective. If Billy Starks had gone through more of a character arc and more development with Athena, I feel like an actual change in gimmick, an actual progression into a new character, then maybe her smiling and sticking her tongue out and doing peace signs and stuff for fellow ops to show off the sixes and the one-eyed symbolism, it might stand out a little bit less. But it feels like an industry plant to me, my friends. The point goes to Valkyria and Perez. I don't even got to speak on Lyra Valkyria. I feel like Lyra Valkyria speaks for herself for real. That's a bad motherfucker right there. So the dynamic duo, I want to believe that that's Axiom and Nathan Frazier, but versus the Bastards for the Dusty World Cup. The Bastards I named as Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker, because they're both bastards. Maybe not in a legitimate sense of not having fathers, but in a legitimate sense of their character as human beings. Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin are both bastards, so I call them the Bastards. So you got the dynamic duo versus the Bastards, and that's going up against the Righteous versus some development talent. I would not mind if the dynamic duo were viewed more as development talent, people that are working to get better, people that are working to try out gimmicks. But both Nathan Frazier and Axiom think they're too good for their own good. And the issue with thinking that you're the best or thinking that you're better than everyone else is that it leaves very little room to grow. There are probably bigger ways for a little man to get over in WWE than just having a title belt or just risking his life. Pete Dunne got over just for being a great wrestler. Um, Cedric the Alexander was the king of the cruiserweights, even though, when he went to the main roster to wrestle heavyweights, things don't hit the same. Things don't have the same kind of power. So you need to develop and you need to change your style. And I don't really feel like Axiom and Nathan Frazier are doing that. I feel like if you give them a guy their size, they'll have a pretty good match with them. But if you give them somebody bigger, they don't have like that Seth Rollins, Swerve Strickland level of repertoire where they're really like they can go against anybody. The Righteous and Vincent, on the other hand, are the perfect balance between the speed build and the heavy. Dutch, I have to say, Dutch is probably one of my favorite wrestlers. Dutch is one of the few men in the world that I would like to hug. I would like to hug Dutch. Vincent, I've actually spoken to before. So I'm not giving this point away because of bias. I'm giving this point away because Vincent and Dutch are both legends. And the guys that they wrestled were development talent. They probably were locals. But giving those opportunities away is a lot bigger to me than two guys like Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker beating up guys that are not only smaller than them, but also smaller on the roster and talents than them. All it does is serve to bury the dynamic duo more and make the bastards look more like bastards. The righteous having a competitive match against development talent, trying to get the talent over, getting the righteous over, showing the talent a thing or two, and teaching them how to like really get into this business. I'm always for that, man. Always, 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 always. So the righteous and Camaro and Naya, y'all got the point. Congratulations to Camaro Jackson and Naya. Because if they weren't as competitive in that match, if they weren't as like, oh wow, like this might be a shock, then might have felt a little bit differently. But they were pretty competitive. They did put up a fight. They still got dominated though, but that's gonna be what it's gonna be. Dragon Lee versus Scripps versus a four-way match. Sorry, freedom and creativity gets it. Anything that has Reggie wrestling is already like wrong on so many levels and just shouldn't be happening. I'm glad that Reggie can do flips and apparently has like a superhero vertical jump. I hate what he did to like Braca and with Nima Bronco and Lucian Price. Lola Vice on something sessions versus the Spanish Announce Project versus Baby Boys, Griff Garrison and Cole Connor, Serpentico and Angelico.
Uncle Daryl,
Yes.
does eating your carrots count in macaroni and cheese?
Eat all your vegetables.
Okay. It's kind of spicy.
Okay. Serpentico and Angelico versus Cole Carter and Griff Garrison. This is gonna get an equals here, and not because they were both good, but because they were both bad. So I think this might be my first negative one for each, but I'll see how the points go to see if it's even like necessary. If there's a buzzer beater here, we'll come back around and we'll address this match. But for now, I'm gonna skip it, and I'm skipping it for the United Kingdom, the Undisputed Kingdom. I think it's United Kingdom versus what the hell does this say? Gravity and Gringo Loco. What did I write? I just scribbled it. I kind of wrote it. I could see how that kind of says gravity, but also not really. Um, Last Legend versus someone Sinclair and Blair Davenport. I really like Matt Taven and Matt Bennett. I really don't really like Gravity or Gringo Loco. So there's actually not going to be a budget beater. Because I feel like Last Legend and Blair Davenport, I feel like they need to start a tag team or something. And they would just run through everybody on this roster for real. I truly believe that. So we got 3 points for NXT. Gacy versus Dijak, Lyra Valkyria and Roxanne Perez. Last Legend, someone Sinclair and Blair Davenport. We got 2 points on the other side for Ring of Honor with the Righteous in the four-way match with Slim J, JD Drake. I got it written down. Slim J, JD Drake, Josh Woods, and Rocky Romero. I don't really know how you would probably compete with that. I should give each man in that match their own point. But it's 3-2 NXT to Ring of Honor. NXT takes it. And not necessarily because Ring of Honor couldn't, if this was a different week of Ring of Honor, the results would have been a lot different given this NXT lineup. You know, like a good section of this lineup did not even cut the slack at all. Serpentico and this guy knock it down one for each. Lola Vice doing a promo I could probably excuse. So I'm gonna do a 3-1 Ring of Honor. Um, and Helico's a great wrestler. When he was serious, when he was hungry, when he was younger, and Helico was a great wrestler. Now he chooses to be a joke and he enjoys being a joke, so I can't take him seriously. Peace. This was World War Wrestling.